Hey guys, welcome to Newswave, your place for video game and technology-based news. It's Friday today, which is awesome because you have the full weekend to look forward to, but we do have a lot of stuff to talk about today, so let's get started. The first thing to talk about today is, of course, the big reveal yesterday that took place. This was yesterday morning, 9 a.m. my time, that's Eastern United States time. We had the full Scorpio Specs leaked to us, well, not leaked to us, but revealed, and this was done by Eurogamer, not really done by Microsoft to us. It was done to Eurogamer to, I assume, then explain to us what was in the Scorpio. But overall, the Scorpio is an impressive, it's an impressive piece of technology. It really is. The console's impressive. Microsoft's big goal right now, I have to imagine, is putting exclusives on this beast, because third parties will be happy with the system because they can pretty much make whatever game they want now and put it out on the system at 4K. Overall, though, Microsoft really needs to get on the ball with their exclusives, and I would hope that they did this before E3 so that they have more time on stage to show off better games. And now we do know Crackdown 3 and Sea of Thieves and then Phantom Dust, which Phantom Dust probably won't really show off much about the system's power, but Sea of Thieves definitely will, and I would assume Crackdown 3 will with its physics-based stuff. Now, the big thing about the Scorpio is that it does have DirectX 12 technically integrated in on a hardware level rather than a software level, and that's really what's giving it the optimization benefits that normal stuff on your computer and stuff would not have. So I look forward to what else can come from it. We still haven't seen any gameplay. We just saw a still of it in action showing us the GPU resources that were being used, which were around 66%, somewhere in there. So I look forward to seeing heavier games that are outside DirectX 12 ecosystem, just see how they run as well. But at least it's out in the open now, and we just got to wait till E3, hopefully to see games and hopefully exclusives. And in one of what was the weirdest announcements right now, out of nowhere actually, Nvidia comes out and announces the Titan X P, little p by the way, lowercase p, and this is the next iteration in the Titan line, and it will add obviously more benefits. It almost looks like they are shooting for like some huge resolution beyond 4K. I don't know if they're starting to work up to 8K. However, the Titan, usually the Titan cards are used more for like deep learning and stuff. They are usually out of people's budgets, at this one being, for example, $1,200. And for the most part, usually large companies buy these for things other than gaming. But of course, gamers still like to buy them, despite Nvidia telling you not to for games. Anyway, the raw specs are pretty straightforward. It's using Pascal, 12 gigabytes of G5X. Of course, that's the next iteration of GDDR5, so it's slightly faster overall. And then you also have 11.4 gigabits per second memory speed, which is very, very fast. And the boost clock is 1,582 megahertz. I feel like this was mostly because the 1080 Ti was announced, and the 1080 Ti was very, very close to the regular Titan XP. In fact, in some cases, it actually was even or was a little better. So they had to put out the next iteration of the Titan XP line just so they can kind of keep everything in parity where it needs to be, almost in that stepping pattern of when you see benchmarks and you see, like, you know, the Titan, the 1080, the 1070, the 1060, it looks almost like a staircase in performance, and they wanted to keep that in parity. I understand if you're spending $1,200 on this card, you don't want an $800 card to beat your card out. So I get that completely. It's just very odd. The naming system is very, very bad, because technically if you say them both out loud, they're both Titan XP. It's almost like you gotta be like Titan X lowercase p. But Nvidia is going to do what they want to do in this case. This is only really for prosumers, people who are doing things other than gaming. Don't buy this card if you're looking to game, because the value makes no sense at $1,200. Go get a 1080 or a 1080 Ti. You'll be much better off, and really the performance per dollar is way better. And we got some interesting Nintendo Switch talk from the Square Enix CEO Masuda. This was during an interview with publication Nikkei from Japan, and they had a few things to say about the Switch that I think caught some people off guard, but to me I kind of looked at it and said, well, yeah, obviously. Other than talking about like extending games like Final Fantasy 15 through DLC, their smartphone games and applications they're focusing on, they also went on to say that they're focusing more right now on the Nintendo Switch as opposed to the Microsoft Xbox Scorpio. And yeah, I mean, that's going to happen considering, one, the Switch is much more accessible to a lot of people, specifically in Japan. The Scorpio is going to sell for more. It's going to be something that is really for the elite or prosumer type people that are willing to spend $500 on the system and then another, you know, $800 on a good 4K TV. Those are not the people that will be mainstream. In this case, Square is looking at the mainstream and saying, well, what can we do to get in with the mainstream? Switch is starting to latch onto the mainstream. Makes sense to me. And if you think about it, Square is technically a Japanese-based company. The Switch is very big in Japan now, and give it 2 years, it'll be massive there. So why wouldn't Square start focusing on what will clearly be the front runner over in Japan? We've already seen games like Project Octopath, for example, looks great, and it looks right up Japan's alley, and it'll be great here in the West too. I really want to play that game. But overall, I see them starting to bring a bunch of RPGs into the fray for the Switch, and then maybe focus on some other stuff going forward as well. But yes, they want to develop for the Switch. The Xbox has sold very, very poorly in Japan. That's actually an understatement. There have been times where I've seen the MPD charts for sales in a week, and the Xbox sold like 20. It's that bad over in Japan. I think Microsoft knows it's not good, considering Phil Spencer went to Japan to talk to Japanese game developers to figure out what they can do here, because it's that bad. So I think it goes PS4, then it probably goes Switch, and then here's Xbox all the way down here off camera on the floor. So it's that bad. Yes, of course, the Switch will get a lot of love from Japanese developers, considering it's the system that's going to be in Japan and leading for a while. And today, Atlus announced a very successful launch and overall sales period for Persona 5, which is not shocking, I think, to anyone, because it was going to be a popular game overall, especially since Atlus has a very good following. But they came out and said it has sold through 1.5 million units at this time. Now, we already know that 550,000 came out of Japan, as they announced that in October. So we've already known that. But 1.5 million being topped by what is still a very niche game overall. Persona is not really a mainstream series, whereas something like obviously Call of Duty is, but like Persona is something that is loved by a very, not a small group of people, but not a large group. So it's a very niche following. To get that many is definitely a success. They have to know it. They're out here touting these numbers. So yes, it's done well. The game is good. I've played it for a bit now. It's fun, but I wish they would kind of adjust or at least ease up on their streaming guidelines, at least a week into, say, at least a week into when the game's out, because eventually it won't sell well anymore and they'll move on to the next thing, and I don't think there's any reason to try to safeguard the back half of the game at that point. But the good news is this pretty much assures us that there will be a Persona 6. So if you were at all concerned, which I wouldn't be, since Persona is still very popular with Atlus, we'll probably have Persona 6 to look forward to. So you may know that Bulletstorm is coming out. I don't think it's going to be very good, because it's really just a remake of the old one put out on the newer systems at 60 frames and everything, but there are a lot of fans of the game, and I understand it will sell. However, there's been a lot of flack going Gearbox's way, because they have decided to partner with kind of the gray market of digital distribution. That is to say, they partnered with G2A, which is like this very interesting digital distribution for games on the PC, and in some cases they do it for consoles too. Basically, as people are getting codes and then reselling them a lot of times, and it's a very dangerous place, apparently, according to a lot of people. And what they do is they kind of let users that are selling kind of have their way with the customers, essentially, so they could steal money and not really care. So what they do then, G2A, is they sell you something called protection. It's G2A protection. It's like the protection shield, and it just ensures that all transactions will go over well. Now, that's not to say you're not, you could use G2A and it'll work fine. That's not to say everyone is going to be bad, but they don't police it well. And for that reason, a lot of PC gamers look at this kind of cockeyed, and you kind of look at it like, I don't know, it's probably not the best place to buy. I'll just go buy it on Steam, and that makes sense. So for some reason, Gearbox decided to use G2A to distribute their game. And there have been other developers that have been kind of ripped on this site. Tiny Build used them, and apparently G2A charged them an exorbitant amount of money to use their credit card processing, and it really just took hundreds of thousands of dollars apparently from them that was not G2A's, but they kept it anyway. So here's Gearbox that's going to be forcing, or at least encouraging, consumers to go to this place that has not proved to be trustworthy. And that made a lot of people really frustrated, really mad, and they definitely let them know about that. So now Gearbox is offering G2A some ultimatums to make sure it's a good experience. Now, I really have no idea why Gearbox is even bothering with G2A. It seems weird. Apparently they're going to do physical stuff through it too, which is really weird. Anyway, these are the things that Gearbox basically sent them over and said, hey, look, this is what you need to fix. So Gearbox reached out and said, within 30 days, the G2A shield, the thing that's supposed to be like the anti-fraud protection, is to be made free for people who are buying Bulletstorm. So if you're getting it, you are not going to be screwed over. And that is a big deal, obviously, to Gearbox, to anyone who's buying a game, right? You don't want to have like fraudulent charges to your card randomly because somebody gets your information, which has happened allegedly, according to a lot of people, not just a few. And before Bulletstorm launches on Steam, they have to make a public commitment for 90 days where GTA open up a web service or API certified developers and publishers to search for and flag immediate removal keys that are fraudulent. So if they are selling you fraudulent keys, which is also known on this site, that they have to enforce that and they have to make sure people are getting the right keys and just to have a good customer experience, right? That's the whole point of this. You're on a marketplace like this, you're buying, you should get your game. I don't see why, I just don't know why Gearbox went anywhere near G2A. There's so much controversy around them, and if I were Gearbox, I would just get away from them at this point. And the last bit of news today is pretty awesome because it is a game release that is coming sooner than you think. You remember how we saw Mr. Shifty on the Indie Showcase, and during my live stream I was talking about how awesome it looked and how I couldn't wait to play it, but we didn't have a release date. Well, Tiny Build came out, they gave us a release date, and it's sooner than you might think. So the initial release date for Steam and the Switch is April 13th. Yes, that's right. It is a week from now. It will be out on the marketplace. You can download on your Switch or on your computer for Steam. And you may remember seeing it where you were a person who was trying to infiltrate a high security building. You're teleporting around, you're fighting people, there's lasers everywhere. And it was a really fun looking game. So I am really excited to play as what appears to be Nightcrawler in a trench coat trying to infiltrate this high security building. April 13th, I'll download it day one and definitely be playing it. That's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think about anything we talked about today, whether it's the Scorpio or maybe you are really excited for Mr. Shifty too. I definitely am. Anyway, let me know what you think about Scorpio's specs or its future for that system, because we feel like they have to have some kind of game coming up for it, right? Something other than Crackdown. It's odd that there's no games on the horizon, but their specs are out of control. Also, let me know what you think about Square Enix and what they may have planned for the Switch, because it seems like they are ready to definitely support this system well above what they're supporting with the Xbox, which isn't much now anyway. So let me know what you think, guys. I'm very curious. I hope you have a good weekend today. Get out, play some games, and I'll see you guys next time.